Hey there. Today, if you can't tell from the title of the stream, I'm world building. I'm creating a world. Um, I did steal this idea from Pointy Hat, and I will continue to steal more ideas from more people because no such thing as a free thought is an original thought, baby. And I'm gonna take full advantage of that. For example, the first idea I have for this world I want to make is a big, it's just a big city that lives on a, give me just a second while I write it out, lives on slash in a giant person, humanoid, um, golem. I guess golem's the best word because golem slash, it would be something slash golem actually. So, giant person, body slash golem. Body doesn't need to be capitalized. Body slash golem. Anyways, idea one. We have that down. Um, After that, I have no idea. But no one's here to give me any. Uh, no one's here to tell me anything different or better. So what that means is that I'm free to just use this, and no one's gonna care. So let's just start working on this idea. Yeah, that'll be fine. So idea one, this big thing. Um, I'm really debating on whether or not I actually like this site because it doesn't necessarily work with my computer. It's very small. Um, yeah. So actually, give me a bit while I load something else up. In the meantime, I'm just gonna keep talking. I got nothing better to do. In fact, in the meantime, you can have my face. Here we go. My face. Hi, Jacob. I know you're up past your bedtime, Jacob. It's fine. You can watch me, Jacob. That's okay. I won't tell your parents. Anyways, I think that everything, right? I'll just wait for this to load. There we go. Now, now we'll get into real, the real aspect of this that I actually want to do because it's better. And I know how to use Google Docs better than I know how to use Figma. So let's just wait for this to load. Wait for me to see if this is loaded. There we go. So idea one, I did have this already written down here just to keep a little hit on that one. And then let's expand on that. So let's just expansion. Right. So I'm thinking more so inside an enormous construct, because that sounds pretty cool. Um, it's also something I just stole from Rustage's Isekai D&D, which if you watch my last video, you'll see a bit of who Rustage is. He's a nerdcore rapper, but he also likes D&D and not just anime. So he has some D&D series going on, and he has a, a city inside of a giant construct. So I'm stealing that idea because it's awesome, right? So let's say the higher up you go in the construct, the better the, I don't know, what do you think? Archaeology, maybe? Maybe something better than archaeology? Maybe a different word? I think a different word might be better here. Would be better suited with a different word here. In any case, um, I do think, yeah, we can go with, well, actually, hmm, the legs, arms of residential district, then control district, right? So that's kind of cool. It's also more of me just stealing from Rustage, which is fine. You know, lots of people do it, and I don't know, anybody that I would play with generally, obviously, other people I might play with, I don't know whether or not they would know Rustage. However, the people that I do play with now don't know Rustage. So, you know, that's fine. But also, it's just a cool idea anyway. So let's just keep building off of a cool idea, right? Legs and arms to appendages. It doesn't do anything different. It just makes me sound smarter. Yeah. The head is a government building, I suppose. Building. The head is a government building. Yeah. Let's see. Is there anything else I can expand off of this right now? I think, obviously, once again, stealing from Rustage. Pun names based off of body parts or pieces of the body. Pieces of the body. Right. So that's kind of cool. So just create a new idea for a world. Doesn't have to be anything too expansive, but it should be something kind of cool. Um, Maybe this world inside an enormous construct is kind of an Underdarky setting, right? because you're inside of a construct, you don't really get any light. So actually, because that was going to be my second idea, an underdarky underground setting. So actually, I've decided I'm just going to be expanding off of this, off of our first idea, my first idea. Yeah. Anyhow, so obviously you would need some way for there to be light, right? Other than because you can't get any natural light. Actually, I think the head, the government building, would have natural light, right? Because you get the eyes, and that's why it's such a prized position. That's why it is the head, I suppose. No pun intended there. But there will be other puns, and those puns will be intended. Uh, but now we just have other things to worry about. Like maybe I don't think this construct is alive. I think it's dormant or dead or however you wish to call it. Uh, right? That's kind of cool, I think. So dormant slash dead. That's kind of cool, maybe. Um, I think there is a holy figure, or just maybe not even holy, maybe just a powerful figure that can generate light. Can generate light, yeah, that's also cool, right? And I don't mean powerful like strong. Well, I do. They should be physically strong. However, they're also politically powerful, right? Um, man, the more I think, the more I'm just kind of ripping Rush's things. Um, but also, it's a really cool idea, and he's really good at world building. So, is it more of a compliment that I'm doing it then? Right? He doesn't. He can't have a trademark on uh, worlds in or worlds and villages in uh, robots. You can't have a trademark on that. So I think it's fine. But I should think of some other things that differentiate. But I'm not sure what I could differentiate. Hmm. Actually, let's change world. Should it be an entire world or should it just be a city? I think the idea of having a big, a giant, enormous, gargantuan, bigger than gargantuan even, robot construct thing floating throughout space is a cooler idea than just a big old robot on the ground. So I do think it just kind of floats through space, right? Floats through space. Anyways, yeah. I'm thinking, what else would be cool for this robot, right? I should add the light only comes in, or natural light, I suppose. Natural light only comes in through the eyes, and I should specify that they are sealed off think I spelled fields wrong. Yeah, they are. The eyes are sealed off, so you're not floating into the vacuum of space. That would be bad, right? That would negate this entire setting essentially. Other than for like Spelljammer stuff, but even that Spelljammer is cool. It's just not what I want to play. I like more grounded fantasy, like the world, I suppose. Um, yeah. What else? I do think this is just funny. OSHA non-compliant, really, really hastily built, really badly built, and really not safe. So, I don't know. There has to be other things. I'm better at world building than just stealing things from people, right? Yeah, yeah, I have to be. What else would I have for other worlds than this one? So, I don't know. There's also not a ton going on, anyways. Rebel group. And it's like there's two ways to do fantasy conflict, really, and that's fantasy adventure fighting and political intrigue. I'm not good with either one, really. I'm much better with supernatural fantasy fighting and adventuring. However, it's much harder to do if you're essentially contained to one city. Yeah, just one big city, right? Much harder to do it that way. Um, but otherwise, don't know what else I could add, really. But, but there's just not a ton. There's not too much you can do with adventures in fighting. Hmm. I don't know. Maybe we should think of something else. Idea two. Idea two. The thing is, I also don't have a good idea for idea two. I was really hoping I would be able to build more off of idea one than just what I have. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think what else there could be. I'd ask for ideas in chat, but you know, no one's here. And that's on me. That's not on anyone, really. Uh, but I don't know. Oh, actually, that's kind of cool now that I think about it. And once again, I'm stealing things from people, like the staff of Ben 10. So it's an Asian slash Asian. Wow, steampunk world, which is really cool, actually. Actually, that's dope. Expansion, Asian slash steampunk world. Now, what else can I add on to that, right? Because you can't just have a basic premise of a world. you have to have other things in that world and things that make it distinct, right? Like what's the thing that the adventurers of this world could be doing? Does it I don't know, is there just like a big evil warlord like Tesla, maybe? I think Tesla was kind of steampunky, but I don't know. Something like that maybe. A warlord would be fine. It would be really pulling the adventurers towards one specific thing. Um, right? Right. So that's something that could be done. Evil warlord. However, had let's have an idea. Evil warlords kind of played out. Um, Maybe let's just add some other things that have to do with things, right? Like well, first up here, I should write down political intrigue. Political intrigue. So, what could be some like hard setting? Um, I don't know. They do like Asian inspired settings. Like there's a couple filler episodes of One Piece where they're in like an ancient Japan and they have that and they're there instead of like out adventuring the seas, and that's a really cool setting. It happened in like I think like really randomly in like the middle of Water Seven, which is just really weird, but it's so cool. Um, there's like the Batman one where he gets sent back in time, right? That's always cool. I really like. Um, Anyways, I don't know. I'm trying to think of others, but I can't really. I don't have any on the top of my head. Um, but I don't know. Because like in Ben 10, they had like buildings that were just kind of floating around this airspace, which is cool. I don't want to do that specifically. Obviously, Asian slash steampunk gives some ideas to what's going on there, right? Um, you can kind of visualize that kind of, but the one okay, just trying to think. I definitely don't do my best thinking while live and under pressure, but you know, and I guess I'm not under pressure. I'm the only one here, but who knows? Maybe someone else will show up, and I still have to make it entertaining to watch and move on. Uh, I don't know. Once again, I'm really bad at just knowing things maybe I should just come up with some things that just maybe add a twist to this, right? Like, I don't know, what are some D&D things that I can just twist? This is a D&D setting, right? That's what this is meant for. It's meant to be a setting for me and other people that I want to play D&D with, play D&D. Let's come up with some twists on places, lineages, species, whatever you want to call them. Let's see. How would centaurs? Do centaurs exist here? If they do, how are they different? Are they different? You could not be different, but maybe I don't know. I think I need to ground this setting more. Right? I think I need to ground this setting more before I do anything. And it's much easier. It was much easier when I saw Pointy Hat doing this. I guess Pointy Hat also had a lot of people helping him out, which is also much better at world building than me. But I don't know. Maybe oh, we can just create some lore for it. Like maybe there's some portals, right? If you know where I'm going here, then you know where I'm going. There's some portals here. They were no, this is right. That's what I meant. Add personal dictionary. And maybe there's some portals that are Ronins. Oops, portal Ronins. Right? That's kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe have oh, I think that's a cool building off point, right? And a cool little, just a little click of lore. You have your little turtle running, this turtle running up in there. They come and do stuff. Maybe they're dead. Maybe they're not real. Who knows? I do. Not yet though. Maybe we change from this to a different setting that I have already worked on and have already uh, or that I know more about because I've worked on it so much. Right? Yeah. Let's do that actually. So here we go. Here we are on my other world, the plane of vanished enigmas, which isn't uh, based around D&D. It's not supposed to be played as D&D, but it is cool and can be, I suppose, if you want to do that. But it's very much uh, just a cool fantasy world, right? So for instance, it's infant, not existence. For infants, you have your magic types, right? So you have enhanced, aether, scrying, and animancy. Whereas enhancement is, the magic to enhance things temporarily or permanently, right? You can temporarily enhance items or your physical bodies. Um, Physical bodies can be cursed or bolstered, which is also pretty self-explanatory. It either affects the creature negatively or positively, or you can permanently enhance items, which is a tuning. Yeah. But there's also Aether Magic, which is the ability to create and manipulate elements. But I think it's really weird to create earth or air. Those can only be manipulated. Whereas fire, water, light, plants, arcane, darkness, light, and ice can all be created. Some of it's also weird, but also it's fine. You have Scrying, which is the magic of knowledge, basically True Sight, which it's based off of True Sight from D&D, which allows you to see things like invisible creatures or whatnot. Lateral Scrying on different parts of the world at the same time as you. Axial Scrying, which allows you to see the past or future, whereas ensuing is the future and bygone is the past. And bygone is extremely easy to do because essentially anyone can do it, even if you don't have magic, by just reading a history book, right? And then you have Animancy, which is the magic creatures and not specifically animals, but it gets what I want to cross. So you have Summon, which is the ability to summon creatures, and Necromancy, which is a subset of summoning, which allows you to summon undead creatures, right? Banishment, which is the ability to banish creatures. Interplanar is just like you can just like move them, right? Unwillingly. And outer planar is you can just chuck them out of this world. But and then here I just have a key for easy to moderate, hard, and extremely hard, right? So your outer planar anime, outer planar banishment, Animancy, your ensuing axial Scrying, your arcane manipulation and creation, and your permanent item enhancement are all extremely hard magic, right? And you have your solar mantles, which are gods, but I like put the name solar mantles, which is really cool. That's the name I used. Where you have V, which is the highest entity, it's like the creator of all things, the creator, right? The blacksmith, and these all, and other than V, they all have these little things which allow them to give creatures their usability. They don't always get the highest level. Right? The Witch of the Dying Sea can give you water and air manipulation and necromancy, or she could just give you water manipulation, which, and for some of them, it only have one, like the blacksmith or emperor of the outer plane. They do technically give you the highest level ability from their thing, but only because it's like their highest thing. It's like they can only give out one, and also these two specifically are already giving out 5-star magic. So, but and then we have which is just what I'm calling the races of this world. They have humans, which are Makilla with nothing special about them. But then you have your sub races that I didn't want to get into, because like humans are everything that's just a human, but with slight differences. Like a dwarf is just a short and stocky human, an elf is just a tall, lanky human, right? And do that for any other ones you want. But so then you have your Animayuka, which is a mixture of animal or animalia and something that's like a word for human, or it's the classification, a broader classification of human. but it's just a human mixed with any animal, be that um, mammal, bird, whatnot. Uh, but yeah, and obviously there are the subraces for that, which are just the different types of animals that the humans that they're mixed with. Nigminors. Sorry. Enigminors are any creature who is generally considered an enigma. And enigmas are creatures that don't have a human intelligence. So like cats, dogs, orcs, goblins, right? Like so your smart orc, that would be an enigminor. Your Mr. Peabody from Mr. Peabody and Sherman, that's an enigminor. Puss in Boots, once again, enigminor, right? Um, Outer Sapiens, which are any Maquila that were born of an outer planar entity and a human, right? So your demigods essentially, right? Or that's what they would be referred to in a separate setting. They're not demigods because they're not as strong as demigods are, but they are, or not as strong as demigods are generally played out to be. However, they are still extremely powerful by nature of having the power of an outer planar entity, which aren't necessarily the solar mantles, right? They could be, but it could also just be like right here, angels, demons, ghosts. Say down lower, I have someone who's a um, a storm entity, right? Dragon, dragon. I just like dragons, so I'm gonna put dragons in things because dragons are cool. Riddleborn constructs are Makila making the riddle weave, which is something we will get into when I further discuss their history, which is coming up next, right here. Their history, which is frankly very long, right? And I could go over all of this and just cut out time because no one's here and no one's here to stop me. No one can stop me from talking about the history and the lore of this world. So that's what I'm gonna do. It also gives more time. So, you know, so we have history, uh, history. So we have magic users. They're called Conjura Runai, conjure runes and just adding some extra syllables to make it sound cooler. And they're shortened to Runai generally. It says sometimes, but most of the times they are. And I'm not going to change that right now. Conjura Runai are the majority of the world. And every real-born construct and outer sapien and dragon is a Conjura Runai. However, they have other powers that we can get into later. However, get into those later. We're talking about these things. Magic can be used in four main ways: enhancement, aether, scrying, animancy. I discussed those earlier. Well, there are only four main types of magic. Each of them have their own subcategories, as I said earlier. And you can combine different types of magic to make different things, right? So, physical enhancement, necromancy can heal wounds, right? Ice creation and item enhancement can make a sword that makes ice, right? Really cool ways to do it. I think it's a cool power system. I say power system. It's not super advanced. It's just, you know, it is what it is. Um, well, people can choose to train in like any amount of magic, right? You can choose to be enhancement, aether, scrying, and animate, right? You can choose to use all of those. However, most people only focus on one. And if you do, you're not going to get that far. You might get one, maybe 2 stars if you're really experienced in any of them, right? Which isn't that isn't the best, right? Um, but, uh, yeah. as I say in the next line, those that choose to study all four usually burn up, literally, as their bodies cannot sustain the amount of mana flowing in and out of them constantly from doing all these types of magic. Or I guess it's different types of mana, right? The enhancement, aether, scrying, and animancing mana. You've generally got the compartment for like one main type of mana and then one smaller type of mana that you do less of, right? So which is cool. Um, and even then, most Brunei magic users, Kendra, Brunei, whatever you want to call them, only learn 3-star magic. So, most people don't get to any banishment or necromancy, right? But for those that do, are really good with them because they're extremely hard to learn and thus extremely good. So, right? I don't know. I'm padding for time here. But it's cool. It works, right? I gotta stop saying right, but whatever. And most Brunei don't make deals with the solar mantles out of pride of knowing they don't need them as they can do normal magic. Whereas the less the minority of the population of this world are the Magus Liber, who can't use magic, otherwise shortened to Libers. However, Magus Liber is a mix of Magus, which is magic, and Liber, which is the free. So you have your Homo Libers, which are something I don't remember, but Magus Liber is magic free. They can't use magic, right? Most of them take pride in their abilities without magic. However, some really greedy ones that really want to do some magic and be much more powerful than they already are. Have magic weapons, which are, your permanent items, or even temporary, but generally permanent item enhanced weapons, or artifacts, or anything else. And we'll get into how those are created once again later down the line of the history, right? But since it's so difficult to permanently enhance magic items or permanently enhance items with magic, it is then it's incredibly difficult for anyone except for like the richest of the rich believers to get them because it costs a lot of money because they can't make them too much for reasons we will get into later, other than it being a 5-star magic. That's right. I thought about this. I thought about why not everyone's got a flaming sword. However, some people still want magic, aren't rich enough to get these weapons. So what they do is they either steal them from the rich people, or they make deals with the solar mantle and gain magic, right? So and I also have a character that does that. You know, however, there are also some leaders that study with the graders, which we will get into later. Once again, I have a lot planned out in this world, and not everything. I can't get everything in succinctly really quickly because everything needs to be said to understand everything else, right? So we'll get into the braiders later. But the believers that train with the braiders inherit some braider powers, right? And they do that by adding tattoos to themselves. Um, there are multiple, however, I've only written down one, which is called the Whisper Weave, which gives a character or a person telepathy with another person within range that has the same tattoo, right? Um, but just give me a second. Uh, yeah. I haven't written this down because I just thought of it, and it's actually really cool. I'm gonna write it down now. Telepathy person to another person with it on them, and within range. And now here's the new cool thing I just thought of. The larger the tattoo, spelled tattoo wrong, it's supposed to be two D's there. The greater the range. Right. However, and that's all I have for the two specific people, right? The two other categories of people other than, their races. Now we're on to the actual history of this world, right? When D, remember D, the highest entity, that's what I wrote down here. There's a big guy being just random. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a word. Because, they don't have anything else. They're just a D. They're a big old floating orb of light, but he created the plane of banished enigmas to put creatures that they don't fit in their ideal world called the Demi-Isles, which is another thing that is probably going to come up at some point. However, I don't have it written down yet. I don't have any history for that yet, because that one's going to have a much wider history. Believe it or not, despite the fact that this one is massive. Right? Because this one only has, I think, like 200 years of history, right? It's just created that long ago. However, we'll get into that, right? So he created the plane of banished enigmas to put in the creatures that don't fit in the Demi-Isles, that they don't think fit in the Demi-Isles, because they're feisty. They don't like them because other reasons probably. However, here's the big old plot twist here. The Aquila, remember the normal people, everyone with a human intelligence, assume the enigmas, the people without a human, not people, the creatures without a human intelligence, are the ones banished, hence why the name is the plane of banished enigmas, right? And it's named at the same reason Earth is named Earth, because Earth just means soil or something like that. Things like dirt, right? So we named Earth after something we noticed about our planet. They named the plane of banished enigmas about something they assumed about their planet, right? The enigmas are actually like a natural effect system for this world. And then Aquila, most of the Aquila, not all of them, but most of them are the banished people from the other world. But even then, not all enigmas are the natural defense system. Some enigmas are created in the Demi-Isles, and then these like, hey, I don't want think you fit here, and they put them into the plane of banished enigmas, but they're not sentient enough to have a human intelligence, so they get put into their then enigma. That's your like orcs and goblins, right? Because your normal enigmas are kind of just like big blobs with wisps coming out of them. That's your normal enigmas, right? Yeah, even here. And there, some creatures banished from these Demi-Isles have intelligence to considered the killer and are therefore classified as an enigma, which are a prime example of this, right? And then we have dragons, beetle-born constructs, and enigmas are the only Aquila to not have their entire race banished from the Demi Isles, right? Dragons naturally occur there, right? They're another naturally occurring system on this plane. Enigmanors can be any form of enigma, be that orcs, dogs, black shadows with wisps coming out of them, right? And then riddle-born constructs, which do I explain it here, or should I wait till we get down lower? I do. Riddle-born constructs are created on this plane, right? They're created from the riddle leaf, which we'll get into later. In fact, in the next paragraph, see, because we're like right here, and it starts right, and it starts after this. Who knows how long it'll take me to get to past that? But we do that for good, great. But yeah. But when he created the plane of banishment was this plane. I don't know what I should call it in to condense it down. I'm gonna just start saying this plane. So when I say this plane, assume I'm referring to the plane of banished enigmas and not the Demi Isles, right? Just assume that. So when he created this plane, magic had been discovered on the Demi Isles, and then so the people that came here are kind of brainwashed, but just about the specifics. But they know they have magic and they know how to do magic, right? You get that? But yeah. Then this entire paragraph here, this one here, it's just about like lore to the world and stuff. The next one is almost so yeah. But next, Grievous Amber. Grievous Amber is the material that most permanently enhanced most, if not all, might have added something else that may not be. However, I don't think I did, but I might have, and it's been a while, right? But there's things that are made out of that magic items are made out of, because anything else would fully shatter and break out of the amount of mana and magic being put into it, right? Which is, a cool way and another way for permanent items to become less normal. They're not everywhere, right? Here we go. Other than dragons, Nikhil solely reside on the bottom half of the continent, which I can show you in just a bit as I get it ready here. Just gotta give me a second to get it open. All right. So here we have the bottom half of the continent, which is where most of the Nikhil reside. You can see the multiple cities and towers that. But dragons, on the other hand, reside up here in this big forest, the mountain range, the other forest, this big cliff, the one big tree, the other circle of trees. I didn't put a ton of effort into this map, but I can't redo it because I didn't save the file it was on, so I would have to completely restart on this map, which I'm not going to do. So that's the best you're getting. But now, back to the lore and not just looking at the map. But yeah. Where was I? Dragons are the only Nikhil to reside on the top half, right? The Dawnforge. Dawnforge is another thing. It's the foremost location for researching magic and the Riddle Leaf, which we are super close to getting into. And while it is, the foremost place for magic and scholars, right? For people them to study at, nerds. It's also where most magical artifacts, other than in some other places that we'll get about, but those places aren't normal. This is like a normal place. Like, oh yeah, it was created here. It's good quality. right? Now, now we're on to the riddle weave, and let's just see something real quick. Shit. Display word count. All right. The riddle weave is 400 words. So that's a lot. That's a lot about one thing that is not what most people use for magic. I don't have a ton of things for how people do magic. I have a ton about the riddle weave though, because the riddle weave is rad and also partially stolen from Woven, the webtoon Woven, which is really good. You should check it out if you haven't, and if you want to. Obviously, I can't tell you what to do. But yeah, the riddle weave is rad, and it has so much going into it. So the best way to start explaining the riddle weave is to explain the riddle weave. So get ready. So this is gonna take a while, and I may not take any breaks other than to like have a drink of water, like right now. Yeah. So into the riddle weave. The riddle weave is just a massive phenomenon that enigmas native to this plane. So not your orcs, not your goblins, but your shadowy wisps. Um, so enigmas native to this plane, dragons and riddle-born constructs all derive their power from this. Dragons partially, dragons also have conjure runai powers, actual magic powers, right? Not just riddle weave powers. But the riddle weave is just a kind of invisible thread that exists everywhere, all over this planet. But sometimes they get just like a little knot, they get knotted up and become just exponentially more powerful. You could use more things, right? So I have this for example here, right? There's two spaces there. Those are but creatures that gain magic that have magic can gain even more magic. So like the dragons can breathe hotter fire, which is rad, right? Or creatures that punchy hardy, are really punchy, really hardy, right? Which is really cool because punchy hardy is really cool. That's why power scalers love what they do, right? But what the knot powers don't last forever. The more they're used, the more slack they gain, and the more loose they become, and eventually they slip apart and and then stop until you find another one. But that's not till later, maybe. I don't know. I haven't explained a ton about it right now, but it's there. Yeah. However, sometimes, and it's very extremely rare, because you can only get riddle-born constructs and enigmanors that come from this plane. Can only are the only and dragons, I guess, but dragons don't necessarily cooperate with other Nickilla, you know. But that's not the point of anything. Where was I? Just right here. Yeah. So it is very possible. It's just not very likely. But sometimes if you have an object made of Breath Amber and you pass it through a knot, which most people, I cannot stress enough, cannot see, so they cannot do this a ton, are what do I call it? They're enchanted and become magical artifacts, which is another way to do it. That's why I specified that Dawnforge is where a majority of magical artifacts are created, because other ones are created out in the real world. You have your normal people creating artifacts and whatnot, but you also have random times that you're walking through with your I don't know, Breath Amber orb, and then can now shoot fire out of itself, right? That's cool. Yeah. And sometimes these powers are increased so greatly, or these powers are so cool, so awesome, they're better than what the blacksmith can do, and the blacksmith, remember, was a god. You know, I mean, he's just like a normal god, and he's not the who is what created the brittle weave, and is thus what is creating these magical items. But still, and they're called riddle-born artifacts. Riddle weave to riddle-born. And if you can't remember, there's also riddle-born construct, and that'll also come back later. Um, some enigmas evolve to manipulate the thread really, and these are given the title of freighters. Boom, told you I'd call back to it. If you don't remember freighters, and probably a while, maybe, I don't know, other than keeping track of time, freighters are what gave the Leavers the power to telepathically communicate, along with other things that I have not yet come up with. Boom, already back on it. Freighters look no different from other enigmas. What call it? Not, they're always on the knot because they can manipulate the thread to become a knot. So they are essentially always on a knot. Why wouldn't they? Right? If you can have incredible power at all times, why wouldn't you have incredible power at all times? Other than, your argument for like the same reason Ben 10 doesn't use Alien X all the time. But that's lame. He should. No, I don't really believe that. But anyway, off top. But yes, however, beyond the ability to manipulate threads, they have other abilities that work by manipulating the threads to do other things, right? So we have threaded passage, which is an ability that allows them to turn invisible and move to any point along the thread near instantly. However, they can only move across like one thread, so that's just like a straight line, right? So you're just so it can just essentially teleport in a straight line, which is rad. It's really cool. But next is Weaver's Seal. Another ability allows them to create a pocket dimension. Really cool. Inside of a knot, which it can't be the knot that they are using because they have to use that knot to be that, to use this ability. However, they can just create another knot because that's what they do, right? They can create another knot and do that. Right? Sorry if you could hear that. However, and any creature that is stuck within this knot, because they can also force creatures inside of it. If they have power to access the riddle weave, like your dragons, riddle-born constructs, and enigmas native to this plane, they gain a boost. However, everything else stays the same because and they gain a boost because they're in a knot, which is what boosts their power, right? But anything else stays the same because they don't gain power from the riddle weave, right? So whatnot. Weave cloning. Weave cloning is an final ability that I have written down. They might have more, but it allows the weavers to create clones of themselves out of the thread to manipulate and confuse their opponents. However, and not however, you can think of these abilities like Doflamingo's string clone from One Piece, right? You can think of it like that. Right. Now, I forgot to put a period there. Not a comma, period. Right. But in even rarer circumstances, right, the riddle weave creates a life of its own, being the riddle-born construction. Boom, brought it back again. I'm so good at this. Anyways, where was I? Whatever. I think I forgot to write construct here. construct. The Riddleborn constructs, they have a unique ability, unique to them, right? Them as a race, as an Aquila. They have an ability to use their mastery of thread to give their companions new abilities, right? They can come in any shape and any size. However, generally, they're like human size, 5'10", slim-ish, right? But they can also be extremely round. They can be extremely small, extremely tall, right? Um, but what was it? Riddleborn Forge, right? That's the next thing I have written down here. Yeah, the Riddleborn Forge is an unclear history. We don't know how it got there. Area in the year 50, it's like about 41 to 50. So 41 to 50. Anyways, that's not what we're here to discuss right now. It kind of is, but it's not the specifics. So like they found it 50 years ago. However, it seems much older, or like 41 to 50. Once again, it's not the point. They found it then, but it seems to be upward of like 100+ years, which doesn't make sense because they're in the year 50 or 41 or 42 or so on and so forth, anywhere in between those two numbers, right? But the constructs themselves, the Riddleborn constructs, have no clue, not a single idea what it's doing there, how it got there, why it looks so old, but it does. Will I ever reveal this? That depends on whether or not I find a satisfactory answer for it, which I may or may not. The Forge, however, is incredibly, incredibly strong, right? It allows constructs to take artifacts, Riddleborn artifacts specifically, that is to increase their power. And there's something that comes with that much later. But once again, we'll get into it when we get into it. I think it's actually in the next paragraph. Not the point. Where was I? The Riddleborn revival. This happened in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, like 20 years ago. Very prosperous era in this plane, right? The Braiders learned how to create Riddleborn artifacts very, very well, right? So they can do it very well, very easily, in fact. So there's some, not all Braiders. All Braiders are Naquilla. However, not all Braiders are allied with the Naquilla, right? I think maybe somewhere I'll have like a dragon and a Braider working together, right? Because dragons are not generally not helpful to other Naquilla. Some Braiders aren't because they choose to fight against them, which is, it makes sense. They're discriminated. They're discriminated against essentially. But yeah. So the ones allied with the Naquilla, the Riddleborn artifacts, or constructs, now the Braiders, that is, can create artifacts very reliably, right? So that and sell them off at high prices, so they get a lot of money, fuels the economy a shit ton. However, there are some that, rightfully so, are not disliked being discriminated against, and now have extremely powerful weapons, right? Extremely powerful. Now, that's all I have for the riddle. It's a lot. That had to have been quite a bit of time. I don't know. It doesn't say specifically. It was probably a lot of time, though. But next, we have the Tempest Enclave, which is a big old thing here. Anyways, the Tempest Enclave is something that's related to another thing I said I don't remember what it was. It was an outer sapien that was born of a storm entity, which are called, and those um those outer sapiens are then thus called hypercanes, which is frankly such a it's a rad name. I get that I made it up. It's still super rad. Um, Anyways, the Tempest Enclave is a group of Magus Leavers. Remember that those guys don't have men, but they have a pact with Zephyros, which is one of the solar mantles. He has who gives out lightning creation and manipulation, and water and air manipulation. Like, really cool, really awesome. Um, yeah, the members are sworn into secrecy once they complete their trial of initiation. Um, the first hero of the Enclave, Alden Stormbringer, uh, he was Alden Stormbringer when he used the power she gained from Zephyros to defeat Aetheros, the Ascendant Construct. Bang! I told you we'd get back to it. Not actually, we're not completely back to the. We're not in another full circle, but we're getting there, right? Uh, he he did this with the help of his future wife, Elena Windwhisper. Because why not? His childhood friend, Kale. No listening. He doesn't. He doesn't want one. I suppose. I don't know. I haven't created a ton of more for these guys. However, here we go. It was the largest claim yet, only being slightly outclassed by the Eclipse of Curse. Eclipse Ascendance's plan failed and increased the power of every Enigma tenfold. Once again, we might get into that. I don't remember if I don't think I have anything else written down about that specifically, but it's there. Just remember that. However, Aetheros was so powerful because he absorbed over 20 Riddleborn artifacts and was corrupted by the power. Do you know how he did that? He did that at the Riddleborn Forge. Full circle, baby. All right. Next, we're on to the Great Nexus Bloom. Right after this, I think I just decided to stop adding things, making one specific paragraph. Well, it's one specific paragraph per thing, right? So the Riddle Weave, the Tempest Enclave, the Great Nexus Bloom, the Luminous Monolith, the Obsidian Eclipse, the Cleaning Tempest, which actually could probably go up with the Tempest Enclave. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Yeah. So let's just do this and we can talk about there. Here. We can talk about the Clean Tempest right now. Sorry, if you hear that. The Cleaning Tempest was a time absolutely filled with dire threat. Where was I? Here. It was started by an radical offshoot, not radical in the good way, radical in the bad way, right? Not like, ooh, totally radical, dude. In I want to fucking blow up the planet, right? That type of way, right? That's not what they wanted to do, but it's pretty close, and it gets across the meaning I want. A radical offshoot of the Tempest Enclave. I forgot what E. Enclave. Tempest Enclave calling themselves the Maelstrom Cabal. Once again, rad name. I get that I named it, still rad. Yeah. But they use the most dangerous side of water, air, and lightning manipulation. Be quiet about the fact that there may be about the peaceful side of lightning manipulation. Watch Legend of Korra, I suppose, right? Using electricity to power things, right? But there. What was I on? They use the more dangerous side of those magic to disrupt the peace and safety of the plane. They use these powers to specifically manifest extreme storms that come out of nowhere. And I feel like I shouldn't have to explain why that's a bad thing if you're just out on a ship and all of a sudden there's a big old tidal wave followed by a thundercloud, right? I shouldn't have to explain why that's a bad thing. If you want me to, it's because it's really bad and it'll kill all the people on board. But I don't think I should. Where was I? Yada yada yada. Extreme storms that come out of nowhere. The main sect of the Tempest Enclave, their responsibility to deal with those in the Maelstrom Cabal, because they're like offshoots. They're like the rascally kids that you need to smack some sense into, right? However, the Tempest Enclave formed a alliance with the Crystal Weavers, who we will talk about. I don't know if I wrote anything down about them. However, if I didn't, I can. I didn't. It looks like I did. The Crystal Weavers introduced another magic system into this world, than just magic and the riddle weave. They introduced magical crystals. However, magical crystals are very closely related to actual magic, right? And here it says it right here. We're capable of crafting magic in crystals, right? So they take magic, they keep it, they put it into a crystal, and then it's like temporary item enhancement, right? You just put something into a crystal and then you can use it later. So, you know, yeah. But where was I going? I had something else to say, I think. Um, no, I don't think I did actually. Yeah, but they can put their magic in it, which makes it, which I think I would say doubles the power of the magic inside the crystal if they put their own magic in. However, if they absorb someone else's, it like has the power, which is another reason why they partnered with the Tempest Enclave to combat the Maelstrom Cabal. Now, onto the Great Nexus Bloom. The Great Nexus Bloom, it was plane changing. It changed the fucking world. Yeah, the bloom happened in the and for like I would say maybe a month, a full month. Um, the riddle weave became visible to everyone. So everyone knew the mystical thread, and they wanted to research it because that's what humans do. They research it until it's no longer magic. Why? I don't know. That's just what happened. But whatever. Um, However, there were more permanent things that happened, such as unknown flora and fauna coming in. Right. So you had your pickleweed. I'm sure that's a plant, and then you have your north green cactus flower. Also, maybe a plant. Cactus flower for sure is, I think. Or it's a broad specification of a plant, but not the point here. Not at all the point here. But you just have your, and then you also have your lily mops and your tigers, right? Lily mops obviously being the fake one for anybody who didn't know. I'm sure you all did, but for the others that didn't, unless lily mop is a real thing, I'm wrong. But anyways, but they started just appearing out of nowhere, nothing. And some of the other did appear, like pickleweed, uh, became like a vibrant blue, right? Like a seafoam blue. And like it's not all of them became that, but some of them did, and it's unsure why. But that's what happened. Um, and something became like I don't know, doesn't appear in nature. Very hard to find one actually. Nature has a lot of colors in it, and without getting very specific, really weird to know. I don't know. We can get into that later when I think of things. However, over the years since the Nexus Bloom, the 120 to 120 to 110 years between when that happened and current, new animals started appearing, right? So as opposed to just like normal deers, you have I guess not normal animals. It's just a fusion of animals and plants coming together, right? So you had your normal deer, but then you also had your Sawsbucks from Pokemon, right? Who have tree branches as antlers instead, right? And maybe you have your um, tiger, but he has pickleweed on his head. There's pickleweed fur instead. Pickleweed's not an actual thing. I'm going to make an actual thing here. Who knows? I don't feel like doing that. But that's everything I've written about Great Nexus. Next, luminous monolith. Really weird. Really weird. A really weird thing that happened. When did this happen, actually? Did I write anything? Oh, 70 to 80 years ago? Yeah, 70 to 80 years ago, the luminous monolith fell down to the ground. Well, weird, right? It came down and disappeared. Quick and mysterious both times, right? Because this is a monolith. It's like extremely heavy and extremely big. There's no real easy way for this to get, out. But anyways, um, for the short time it was there, I would say maybe a quarter of a year, 3 months, right? Right? That sounds pretty good. It was instrumental, extremely important to the growth of magic and learning about the riddle weave, right? And this is for multiple reasons. One, it's the only object, right? It's a solid object, right? And it's one of the only things that can react. What am I talking about? That can affect and interact with the riddle weave, right? So you have your braiders, which are an object, and they do nothing. You have your dragons, or not an object, sorry, living creatures, sentient creatures that are objects and can be manipulated, right? You have your dragons, same thing. Um, However, then you have this big stone killer that um, just started weaving the riddle weave into itself. And that was really weird, suffice to say, right? Um, yeah, so it was essentially just a perpetual knot around this thing. However, this knot, it acted like a knot in terms of like knot, right? Like enigmas and stuff. It's like, oh, there is a knot over there because all threads are converging and it's very tense. However, it didn't. It affected the riddle weave, or it didn't affect the enigmas, dragonborn, and riddleborn constructs, but it did in fact affect the Brunei and Liber. Remember the Brunei, the Mega Liber that interacted with it, which is pretty cool. Yeah. What did it do? The Brunei that touched it had their capacity for magic increased, right? They maybe gained a little extra stack of magic, of mana, that allowed them to learn more types of magic and at higher proficiency levels, right? So uh, maybe like maybe you have like a character that's able to use like summoning and animancy and fire creation aether magic, right? Um, they then gain access to like maybe use some like scrying stuff, which is kind of cool. Um, or maybe they can use some enhancement, and then maybe they can also go up to like necromancy magic as opposed to just summoning, right? Maybe they can learn banishment even, but that's kind of the point, I guess. I don't know why I was going to say that's not the point, but that is the point. However, levers that touched it became 2-star, or became Mooneyes that can use 2-star magic. However, they also gained the ability of their to keep the ability of their like weapon fighting, which is cool, right? Right? Yeah. Their lever trading in deals with floor mantles. So now you can have a deal with the Witch of Dying Seas along with ice manipulation, which is rad. That's so cool. That is so cool. Where was that? Right here. Right? Yeah. It was made, this monolith, the luminous monolith, was made of a very specific type of Grius amber that has come to be known as bright Grius. it is a magic. Theoretically, it is the most powerful thing that could ever create an artifact. However, before I go on this whole tirade about why luminous or bright Grius is so cool, um, they couldn't get any. It's like really dense and would not come off of the monolith, right? And the monolith disappeared. It was there for 3 months and then it's gone. It showed up in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the land at some point, and then was there for 3 months and then gone. No explanation, no nothing. However, some people want to mimic it, for what I don't know, just because it's cool, right? Right? Because it's cool and awesome. I'm a really great world builder. But yeah. Anyways, what was it? Right. It was many tried to replicate the facade of it. No one's ever gonna get it as hard because it's extremely it was extremely hard. They couldn't get any parts of it off, right? However, there's one very famous replica, right? Called the Luminous Star Observatory. It has taken creative liberty to, instead of having just random patterns of rocks that were glowing, it has instead changed it to be constellations, right? And that's cool. Anyways, next, next. The Obsidian Eclipse. So this world has two moons, right? Classic fantasy thing, two moons. However, the Obsidian Eclipse, which has started, which is going on currently, it is not, it's going on, and it hasn't. So, we're in the middle of the Obsidian Eclipse era right now. But it's when the two moons, Lyritha, the sanguine moon, and Florence, the reflecting surface, or something along those lines. I have it written down. But I know what it is. I don't have a complete idea for it yet, right? I haven't written it down. But when they converge in a specific alignment, it creates the Obsidian Umbra, which is a moving area of darkness, right? All around. So pure that even spectacular with the Curse of Flame, who is, I think, almost completely dedicated to himself. He has curses, but manipulation and cursing. But being the Curse of Flame, he really, really likes, creating flames and light and such. But, even a pack ruler with him, the strongest pack ruler with him, cannot illuminate this darkness, which is really edgy. And it's fine because there's other things that are goofy as hell. But yeah. And anyhow, what else? The Obsidian Umbra, right? It's just a moving area of darkness, right? I think I said that already, but whatever. Just moves around. And it's extremely dangerous, right? Right? Because you have your enigmas, right? Your normal enigmas that, they scrape and scratch. And then you have your enhanced enigmas that live inside it, which I would say mutilate. I think mutilate's a good word for this. They mutilate their targets with one claw. Just just scratch. Oh, I'm dead now. Anyways, not the point right now. Kind of the point right now. Actually, incredibly the point right now. Because that's what we're talking about. It can one claw scratch you, you're instantly dead. However, there are benefits to going in, apart from having a death wish, if you have one. But there's an abundance of Grius Amber that is there and just immediately is lost once it's out from under the Umbra. But yeah. Anyways, that's all I have for the Obsidian Eclipse. There's probably some other things, right? There's Lyritha, which is the sanguine moon, extremely red in color, and is caused the blood rain phenomenon, which is when the moon does something. I haven't fully written that down yet, but now we can get on to the events and the years and the timetables. Timetables are rad. Screw you if you think they're not rad. Timetables are absolutely rad, right? So 1 to 10 years ago, specifically, actually closer to 0, V creates the plane of vanishment. Well, the Enigmas show up, and the Monastery of Burning Death is established. And I haven't mentioned that because I haven't written about it yet, and that's on me. But it's not on me right now, right? That was in the years of 1120, 21 to 30. There were 3 kingdoms that were created, established, enforced, whatever you want to say. Enforced isn't a good noun for that, verb for that. But you have the Cosmos Kingdom, the Sunrise Kingdom, and the Capital Kingdom. They were all created. And here, let me get that back to the map. I can show you where all those ones are. Which ones were they? Cosmos, Sunrise, Capital. Right? So here you have the Cosmos Kingdom, which is kind of just, it looks like a normal kingdom. That's all it's supposed to be. The Sunrise Kingdom is a temple. It's called the Sunrise Kingdom because you get a great view of the sunrise from the top of the temple. And these are just like the main, standout parts. There's obviously like, a city or the castle, right? And then you have the Capital Kingdom, the really big kingdom in the middle. And it specifically has a town because it has a really large town around it. Oh, and here, down here, this little circle is the Monastery of the Burning Death, or whatever it was. Monastery of the Burning Death. But after the Cosmos, Sunrise, Capital Kingdoms were created in the years 31 to 40, the first Aether Crown arrived, and he came and took down the king of the Cosmos Kingdom, the corrupt king of the Cosmos Kingdom. Say that 5 times fast, or don't, whatever. But and he is, and you can tell since I said first, it recurs over and over. The Aether Crown gets stronger and stronger most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it does. But the Aether Crown is basically a moniker or title to one person in any time that is given powers to use any Aether magic, that being creation and manipulation of the elements, at a 5-star level, which is incredibly powerful, right? They're incredibly powerful, all of them. And they just keep getting more powerful because generally, the first Aether Crown took down the king and then became the king, right? And then the second Aether Crown, the first Aether Crown became corrupt, and the second Aether Crown came down, and they had to fight. The second Aether Crown came out on top, and so on and so forth. However, sometimes the Aether Crown wouldn't get corrupt, and it would take a while down their lineage. Like only 1 or 2 people ever, but 1 or 2 people down their lineage, and then it would be corrupt, and then an Aether Crown would be, and then they might get as powerful as the previous Aether Crown. However, they probably wouldn't because they're not fighting against someone as powerful, right? After that, 41 to 50 years ago, or no, in the years 41 to 50, the Brittleborn Forge was discovered, right? Talk about that. The Dawn Forge was created, talk about that. And the Crystal Weavers started operations. Kind of talked about that. I don't have a ton of details about them. So there's not a ton of details to give, right? In the years 51 to 60, the first Riddleborn construct and artifacts were discovered, which is a massive, leap, right? It's incredible. Like previously, it was like, oh yeah, everybody was making all the artifacts we have logged because we know the people that are making them. Whereas now it's like, oh, this unmarked artifact that came from fucking nowhere, right? Um, Next, in the years 61 to 70, there were 6 Zenith Runai that created towers to magic. And Zenith Runai are, it's just slang for Nanjura Runai that are capable of 5-star magic that aren't specifically like the Aether Crown or dragons, right? So those creatures are incredibly powerful, just as is, right? And those are the 6 towers you saw around the map if you were paying close enough attention. However, it takes a while for me to flip back and forth between the two. So I hope you're fine with me not flipping. Actually, yeah, we can flip back after I talk about this next thing that happened. In the year 71 to 80, Northaven, previously known as Nighthaven, Rio Posit, previously known as Grief Amber Deposit, uh, those were founded. The Milan Dynasty, the Terranez Kingdom, and the Osiretian Empire were devised. Why did I say devised? Because I thought it sounded cool, right? Yeah. So we can walk over to the map, and then we can talk about things that happen here, right? Like the 6 towers, right, that are created by the Zenith Runai. You can clearly see those, right? Yeah. There's the Milan Dynasty, which is like this one right here. I don't have a ton of names. I'm kind of just guessing. I knew a couple of them, right? But otherwise, no clue. The Ozotarian, or no, the Terran Edge Kingdom right here, and then you have Northaven right here, and it was previously known as Nighthaven, because this is where all the knights would be, because it's right next to the Castle Kingdom. The Knights of the Castle Kingdom is their haven, right? And then you have Griopposit, or Grief Amber Deposit, which is where most of the Grief Amber came from. However, it is now mined up. It's a dry well, essentially. Um, so there's nothing else left there. So it's just the names have been just lost over time of yeah. So the names Nighthaven and Grief Amber Deposit have been lost over time since you know. Then there was the Great Nexus Bloom, and the Riddleweave phenomenon was discovered, which coincided because of what the Great Nexus Bloom did. Next, we have the years 91 to 100, first century, out of the way. Woohoo! Our portal and gatekeeper was found, and the portal and gatekeeper are here. I'll come show it. They are up in this big circle of trees here. That's where they are. They're hidden out. But anyhow, it's unsure where the portal leads and what the gatekeeper is protecting. However, as the essentially author of this story, I know it leads back to Demiurge. Why did he put it there? No clue. Should I? Probably, but I don't. But anyways, after that, 101 to 110, Aetheros, the Ascendant construct, was unearthed. And if you remember that, once again, full circle, or half circle at this point, that is the construct that, what's his name? all the 20 Beetleborn artifacts, right? But he's just been unearthed, so he's probably bigger than normal. However, he also gained mass and size by absorbing artifacts. Next, the luminous monolith appeared and disappeared. I didn't decide to write disappeared because I didn't want to. And here we go. Aethros was defeated by Alden, Elaine, and Kale. Years 131 through 140, somewhere in between there. The Tempest Enclave was formed, so I think this happened closer to the end. And then Alden formed the Tempest Enclave. Or maybe it was formed in his image. Unclear. We'll find out later. I'll find out later, I suppose, actually. Next, the cult of the Eclipse Descendants plan failed, and bang. Wait, did I say the Crystal Weavers twice? Did. The Crystal Weavers happened later. They didn't happen in the year 41 to 50, right? But bang, once again, full circle. I talked about that, and now you know when it happened, right? About 20 years after it was defeated. But he was defeated, and then he was one up by the increasing of all Enigma's power level. But, you know, that's what happened. And then the Crystal Weavers became a faction, and then the Cleaning Tempest occurs, and that's why, and that's, once again, full circle. That's why the Tempest Enclave, and that's why they were around for the Tempest Enclave, to team up with them to defeat the Maelstrom Cabal in the Cleaning Tempest. Beetleborn Revival end. When did it start? Oh, it started up here. It was quite a while. And it ended because of reasons that I don't want to get into right now because I don't know them. Anyhow, I don't have anything for 181 to 190. And then 191 to 200 did see an eclipse start. And I suppose that's actually probably to current. Or maybe I add something under that. From like 201 to current. It might be like 205, 207 maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, how long have I been going on? Almost 2 hours. I've been going for almost 2 hours. So maybe I just do this for now. At some point later on, we work more on the lore here, and then yeah. Also, I should mention this here and now. Tomorrow at I don't know when. Tomorrow in the morning-ish PST, maybe closer to noon. Who knows? Depends on when I wake up and get everything done. I'm going to be doing a cooking stream where I make biscuits and a glaze for those biscuits. The glaze is going to be honey bacon pecan. So I'm going to be doing that. That's going to be pretty cool because like I just kind of want to make biscuits, and also maybe that one will do good. I don't know, but who knows? So at some point I'll come in. We can work more on this, right? Because the other one I might be able to do better off stream when I don't have anything going on. But right now, when I'm not forced, but when I feel more obligated to be funny and talk more and do more things, I feel better working on something that I know. And maybe we'll go over my other setting, Mid Atlantis, which has nothing to do with Atlantis and the sea. It's just a cool name. and it's too late now to go back on it. But anyways, so tomorrow, cooking stream, biscuits and glaze. Um, and later, at some point, maybe in a week or something, probably maybe less than a week. I don't know. When I feel like doing it, um, I will come back and we can work more on the plane of banished enigmas. Anyways, I don't know. There's not much else for me to say. I've been Dungeons and Dinos. Um, remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.